There are cities that expand outward, reshaping the land to fit their needs. And there are others that learned to remain where they are, shaped instead by mountains, rivers, forests, and climate that came long before them. This documentary explores cities that exist within nature, not apart from it. Places where geography is not a backdrop, but an active force, setting limits, defining movement, and shaping daily life over generations. In these environments, urban life follows natural rhythms. Streets bend around terrain. Architecture responds to weather. Growth is measured carefully, constrained by what the land will allow. Here, progress does not arrive all at once. It negotiates. I began this journey not to catalogue destinations, but to observe how different societies have adapted to living close to the wild. How cities persist beside forests, coastlines, deserts, and highlands without fully absorbing or erasing them. Across continents and cultures, the balance is never fixed. It shifts with climate, population, and time. Some cities hold it, others strain against it. All reveal the same question: how close can human life remain to nature before that relationship begins to fracture? This is not a celebration of cities, nor a rejection of them. It is an exploration of coexistence, of urban spaces shaped as much by restraint as by ambition, and by landscapes that continue to set the terms of how cities survive. Cusco, known as the historic capital of the Inca Empire, once served as the center of political and military power. Its unique layout is believed to represent the design of a puma, an animal highly regarded by the Incas. At an elevation of 11,152 feet, Cusco is one of the highest cities in the world. Visitors should be aware that this altitude can lead to altitude sickness, so staying hydrated is essential. The city boasts over 600 historical structures, including ancient temples and colonial buildings. About 200 of these are recognized as cultural heritage sites by the Peruvian government. Notably, Cusco was the first city in the Americas to be awarded the title of Cultural Heritage of Humanity by UNESCO in 1983. This recognition highlights its significance and rich history. Furthermore, Cusco serves as a gateway to the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu, offering stunning landscapes that are abundant in biodiversity. The region is home to over 400 species of flowers, showcasing the natural beauty of this remarkable area. Ushuaia. At the edge of South America, Ushuaia embodies the spirit of a place both remote and resilient, a city often called the end of the world. Here, at the southern tip of Argentina, in Tierra del Fuego, sharp mountain peaks guard the city, while the Beagle Channel's steel blue water glimmers beneath a sky that shifts from moody gray to dazzling gold. Founded in the late 19th century as a penal colony, Ushuaia has grown from isolation into a port of exploration, once sheltering prisoners and now welcoming travelers bound for Antarctica, just 600 miles, or about 960 kilometers away. There's a quiet wonder in the way the city faces the windswept land and sea, holding on to its roots, yet always reaching toward what lies beyond the horizon. Ushuaia is both a threshold and a refuge, a landscape where harsh beauty meets human tenacity. Standing here, the world seems to both narrow and expand, leaving you to ponder the journeys that begin and sometimes end at these stark southern shores. Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. At the crossroads of isolation and innovation, Hobart's story captures the resilience that shapes Tasmania's spirit. Perched along the deep blue waters of the River Derwent, Hobart is framed by the rugged ascent of Mount Wellington, which rises more than 1,100 feet into the sky, or about 1,250 meters. Founded as a British penal colony in 1804, Hobart's convict-built sandstone warehouses and narrow winding lanes whisper tales from over 2 centuries past. These streets, you sense the perseverance etched into the city's bones, where artists and chefs turn old wharves into spaces of creativity, gratitude, and warmth. Yet beyond the restored waterfront, windswept headlands and untamed bushlands reveal a wildness still untouched by urban comfort, a stark reminder of nature's power alongside gentle colonial heritage. Salzburg. The essence of Salzburg is found in the harmony between music and mountains, where centuries of culture echo beneath towering peaks. From the banks of the Salzach River, rows of Baroque spires and pastel-hued facades stretch across the old town, their silhouettes framed by the imposing Hohensalzburg fortress and the gentle rise of the Austrian Alps. Once the independent seat of Prince Archbishops, Salzburg thrived as a crossroads of trade and art, giving birth in 1756 to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, whose legacy still lingers in cobblestone lanes and gilded concert halls. Wandering here, there's a calm sense of wonder. Each echoing church bell and distant melody invites visitors to slow down and breathe in the timeless rhythm of Austrian life. Yet behind every ornate facade lies the tension between quiet tradition and the pulse of modern creativity. In this city where alpine air mixes with grand symphonies, you sense how places, like people, are shaped by the melodies they carry forward. Innsbruck, a crossroads of mountain spirit and European heritage, where tradition meets the restless flow of time. Cascading beneath the jagged, snow-dusted peaks of the Tyrolean Alps, the city of Innsbruck in western Austria glows with pastel-colored houses set against the deep blue ribbon of the Inn River. For centuries, Innsbruck served as an imperial seat, gaining significance when Emperor Maximilian I made it his home in the late 15th century, shaping the city with grand Habsburg architecture that survives to this day. Here, the crisp alpine air carries echoes of medieval markets and Olympic cheers, inviting visitors to pause between worlds, the serenity of mountain silence and the hum of urban life. It is a place both shaped by the permanence of stone and by the ever-changing rhythm of the seasons. As sunlight fades into the valley, Innsbruck whispers of how landscapes and people can merge to create stories still unfolding beyond the alpine horizon. Vancouver, a city where the rhythm of nature pulses through urban life. Vancouver invites you to discover harmony between wild beauty and human ambition. Glass towers frame snow-capped mountains, while mist coils above the vast harbor of British Columbia, Canada, and waves press softly against shores lined with ancient evergreens. Founded in the late 19th century as a small coastal settlement, Vancouver has grown over more than 130 years into a vibrant metropolis, deeply shaped by First Nations, Asian immigration, and a spirit of ecological stewardship. There is a quiet pride here, visible in the commuters cycling beside the ocean, in neighborhoods where a dozen languages are spoken beneath cherry blossoms, and in the gentle hush of evening rain. City and wilderness blend, yet sometimes remain at odds, the push of progress shadowing the pull of the land's ancient calm. Perhaps in places like this, the world is reminded that every thriving city still draws breath from the forests and waters beyond. Bergen, a city where nature and heritage quietly entwine. Bergen is North Sea salt on a storyteller's breeze. Narrow cobblestone lanes slope past wooden houses painted ochre and red, all gathered between the fjords and misted mountains of Vestland in western Norway. Founded more than 9 centuries ago as a Hanseatic trading post, Bergen grew through the centuries as Norway's gateway to the world. Its old wharf, Bryggen, now standing as a UNESCO relic of merchant ambition and seafaring life. There's a gentle melancholy beneath the frequent rain, yet it is softened by an openness that welcomes both solitude and company, sea spray and sunlight. Even as ships glide in and out of the harbor, Bergen balances between ancient timber and youthful energy, tradition and reinvention. Kyoto, a city where tradition flows quietly alongside nature. Kyoto offers a rare harmony between the built and the wild. Tucked within the green embrace of Kyoto Prefecture in Japan, its old wooden temples hide among maple-draped hills, while koi-filled ponds reflect shifting clouds and centuries of stories. Founded more than 1,200 years ago as Japan's imperial capital, Kyoto's gardens and shrines have survived time's upheavals, from ancient wars to modern change. Walking its winding lanes, there's a sense of peace that seeps in, as if the city and the cedar-scented air have quietly reached an understanding. Here, silent bamboo groves stand alongside neon-lit storefronts in a gentle tug between old ways and new currents. It leaves a quiet wonder. How does a city so alive preserve the steady rhythm of the natural world within its heart? Cape Town, a city in nature, where urban life and wild landscapes are inseparable. Cape Town invites visitors to witness a rare harmony between humanity and the earth. From the gentle curves of Table Mountain, rising more than 3,500 feet, or about 1,100 meters above the pastel rooftops, to the sweep of the Atlantic's turquoise waves reaching the crowded heart of the city in Western Cape, South Africa, every view here is sculpted by both time and intention. Founded by Dutch settlers in the 17th century as a replenishment stop on the spice route, Cape Town's history is layered with stories of indigenous Khoisan peoples, colonial encounters, and the enduring struggle for freedom during apartheid. Walking its sunlit streets, there is a feeling that peace and turbulence exist side by side. The laughter from bustling markets floats upward, mingling with the cool silence of mountain shadows. The city's beauty is never far from its challenges, and yet both seem to amplify one another, making the connection between land and life feel essential. Here, the meeting of city and wilderness quietly asks us what it means to belong, and how boundaries, both physical and imagined, shape the stories we carry forward. Queenstown. Here, the idea of a city woven into nature finds its purest form. Nestled along the shimmering edge of Lake Wakatipu and framed by the rugged peaks of the Remarkables in Otago, New Zealand, Queenstown feels like a gentle interruption in the wild, where buildings and pine forests seem to touch. Founded in the mid-19th century during the gold rush, this mountain town quickly transformed from a remote outpost to a vibrant hub, its fortunes tethered first to the river's gold and, years later, to visitors drawn by breathtaking scenery and adventure. Standing on its lakefront, there is a quiet wonder in how daily life and wild landscape flow together, cafes sharing space with ancient mountains, laughter echoing across still morning waters. There's a soft tension here. Human ambition presses forward while nature remains vast and unchanged, each sharpening the beauty of the other. And as the sun sets behind the Remarkables, you sense how Queenstown's story, part city, part wild, reflects the timeless longing to belong in both worlds at once. A question echoed wherever people settle close to the untouched. Ljubljana, a city where nature and daily life are woven seamlessly together, inviting you to discover the rare harmony that defines its soul. Along the gentle curves of the Ljubljanica River, Slovenia's tranquil capital reveals itself through leafy walkways, green bridges, and streets lined with chestnut trees that filter the sunlight into a soft, dappled mosaic. Built atop Roman foundations and shaped by centuries of Habsburg influence, Ljubljana has embraced change while preserving its natural heart. Over half the city is made up of green spaces, and Tivoli Park stretches for more than 500 acres, or around 200 hectares, into the urban core. There is a subtler joy in strolling here, sensing how the hum of city life never quite drowns out the whisper of the wind or the song of thrushes overhead. Here, the rhythm of commerce contrasts with pockets of serenity, proving that a capital in Central Europe can still pause and breathe alongside its rivers and gardens. As the evening settles, you might find yourself wondering how many cities gently cradle their wild spaces and how modern life elsewhere might feel if nature were always this near. Reykjavik, a city in nature. Reykjavik stands as a quiet frontier where urban life meets the wild rhythm of the earth. Along the northern shores of Iceland, its colorful rooftops shine under shifting skies, surrounded by distant mountains and the silver sweep of the Atlantic, blending civilization into stark, volcanic landscapes. Settled in the late 9th century, Reykjavik grew from a Norse outpost into Iceland's modern capital, its geothermal warmth woven into daily life and powering entire neighborhoods, an intersection of tradition and innovation. Here, city sounds are softened by the hush of the wind, while hot springs and urban cafes exist side by side, inviting a sense of wonder in every breath. There is a gentle tension between isolation and connection, as days of brilliant summer light yield to long winter nights, drawing people closer to nature and each other. In Reykjavik, the familiar outlines of city living blur into the raw pulse of Icelandic wilderness, hinting at how humanity might coexist with the untamed world beyond. La Paz, a city where nature and civilization are inseparable, La Paz reveals how human ambition can coexist with raw landscape. Cradled within a rugged canyon over 10,000 feet, or just above 3,000 meters above sea level in western Bolivia, the city sprawls between broken cliffs and steep hillsides, with clusters of warm lights tumbling downward toward the valley floor. Founded by the Spanish in the mid-16th century, La Paz has grown along these vertiginous slopes, adapting its rhythm to the unpredictable terrain and the shadow of majestic Mount Illimani that watches over the city's every move. There's a quiet awe in seeing busy cable cars gliding above deep ravines, connecting distant neighborhoods and bridging isolated lives. In La Paz, we are reminded that the pulse of a metropolis can echo the heartbeat of the earth itself, asking us to consider where one truly ends and the other begins. Kathmandu. At the heart of Nepal, Kathmandu pulses with a timeless essence, a city in nature where human vibrancy and the wild earth intertwine. From the crowded alleys colored with prayer flags to distant blue-green hills embracing the valley, every street corner in this Bagmati province capital holds both the scent of incense and the cool breath of Himalayan air. Once a major crossroads on ancient trade routes between India and Tibet, Kathmandu's history spans more than 2,000 years, echoing through stupas, temples, and palaces that have withstood countless seasons. Walking here, you feel both the intimacy of daily life and the vastness of distant snowy peaks, reminding you that even amid chaos, tranquility is never far away. This is a place where old and new are forever negotiating their space, and where, just beyond each bustling marketplace, the wilderness quietly waits. In Kathmandu, the story of city and nature continues to unfold, reminding us how closely we all live with the wild, whether we notice it or not. Hangzhou, a city in nature where centuries of human life gently entwine with emerald hills and silvered water. Along the peaceful banks of West Lake in the heart of Zhejiang Province, China, delicate willows trail their reflections on the glassy surface, blending city silhouettes with drifting clouds. Founded over 2,000 years ago, Hangzhou flourished as the southern terminus of the Grand Canal, and, during the Southern Song dynasty, became a capital alive with artists, scholars, and traders who shaped China's cultural golden age. Pausing here, the modern city's quiet harmony with bamboo groves and tea terraces encourages a softer gaze, one that finds beauty in the space between progress and preservation. Hangzhou's pulse feels both timeless and new, a balance where ancient temples and digital innovation weave a subtle contrast. Perhaps in this gentle blending of city and nature, we glimpse how urban futures might coexist thoughtfully with the living landscape. Wellington, a city in nature, Wellington finds its pulse where wild landscapes and urban life touch shoulders. Wrapped between rolling green hills and the restless waters of the Cook Strait in New Zealand's southern North Island, its downtown rises with glass and steel, yet remains always in conversation with the wind-swept coastline, the scent of salt, and the distant, sheltering peaks. Settled by Maori centuries before European ships arrived, and later becoming New Zealand's capital in the mid-19th century, Wellington has grown as a crossroads for culture and government, shaped by migration and resilience after the magnitude 7.8 earthquake of 1931. A reminder that nature here commands respect. In this ever-changing balance, Wellington hints at how urban spaces everywhere might one day reconnect with the wildness still waiting just beyond our doors. Portland. Here, the idea of a city woven gently into nature finds its truest shape. As you walk through downtown Portland, Oregon, skyscrapers seem to share their skyline with tall firs and maples, while the distant silhouette of Mount Hood hovers beyond the rivers and bridges. Founded in the early 1800s, this city earned its nickname, the City of Roses, as its parks and greenways multiplied alongside neighborhoods, with Forest Park alone stretching for more than 5,100 acres, or nearly 21 square kilometers. There's a quiet comfort in how city life here feels softened by the ever-present green. A hum of community, carefully balanced with the patient pulse of the Pacific Northwest wilderness. Work and play, glass and grass coexist, where the urban and the wild trace each other's edges every day. In Portland, you sense that any modern city can seek harmony not by pushing nature away, but by inviting it home. Seattle, a city in nature where glass towers and evergreen forests stand as partners in daily life. Against the broad skies of the Pacific Northwest, downtown Seattle glimmers along the edge of Puget Sound, its skyline rising behind a curtain of Douglas firs and misty Olympic peaks that embrace the heart of Washington state. Founded in the mid-19th century as a lumber outpost, Seattle grew with the spirit of explorers and gold seekers, shaping a metropolis that still celebrates its indigenous roots and environmental heritage. Today, more than 600 parks form living arteries through the city's neighborhoods, connecting urban blocks to mossy canyons and sandy shores. There is a quiet hopefulness in the way waterfalls tumble almost within sight of skyscrapers. Rain-washed streets shimmer with ambitious innovation, yet just footsteps away, the ancient hush of the forest remains untouched. In these gentle contradictions, Seattle invites us to imagine how cities and the natural world might still learn to grow together. Medellin, a city in nature, Medellin is a living testament to transformation, where urban life and wild green are endlessly intertwined. Cradled within the narrow Aburrá Valley in Colombia's Antioquia department, its terraced hillside shimmer with tropical foliage while the cityscape unfolds in waves of red brick towers, all against a dramatic backdrop of lush Andean mountains. Once infamous for its turbulent history, Medellin has evolved in just a few decades from a place marked by violence to a vibrant center of innovation, winning global recognition for pioneering cable cars and public parks that connect neighborhoods once divided by steep terrain and fear. In this city, the scent of flowering guayacans drifts through open plazas as locals stroll beneath towering palms, discovering beauty in what was once overlooked. There's a quiet tension here between the memory of shadow and the pulse of new beginnings, where every sunrise seems to promise something better than the day before. Medellin's story asks how a place and its people can use nature itself to heal and begin again, echoing a question that belongs not just to one city, but to many seeking light from darkness. Rio de Janeiro, a city where nature and humanity seem endlessly entwined. From the foothills of Corcovado, green rainforests spill toward Rio's urban sprawl, their vibrant canopies hugging the bright mosaics of Ipanema and the enduring shapes of Sugarloaf Mountain, all bordered by Brazil's shimmering Atlantic coastline. Since its founding by the Portuguese in 1565, Rio de Janeiro has flourished as a port, endured as a colonial capital, and reimagined itself amidst cycles of challenge and celebration, always defined by its ever-present landscape. There's a quiet awe here in the way daily life unfolds. Children play soccer on the sand as sea breezes carry the scent of tropical blooms above the busy streets. Underneath Rio's vibrant energy, a gentle tension lingers. The city's towering granite peaks and lush forests offer both wild beauty and a reminder of nature's dominance over even the grandest urban dreams. And in this place where city and wilderness blur, each view seems to ask how much a landscape can shape the human spirit. Almaty, a city where the rhythms of nature and urban life intertwine at every turn. Along the southern edge of Kazakhstan, Almaty stretches across green foothills, rising steadily towards the snow-capped peaks of the Trans-Ili Alatau, where wild apple trees bloom and city lights shimmer in the valley below. Once the capital and still the country's largest city, Almaty evolved from a Silk Road outpost into a vibrant, modern metropolis, its name itself rooted in the word apple, a nod to the wild apple forests that once covered this region for thousands of years. There is a gentle hush that settles between skyscrapers and parks, where locals sip strong tea beneath canopies of towering trees, feeling both the energy of urban progress and the quiet pulse of mountain air. Here, the rush of daily life stands in peaceful contrast to the serenity of nature, urban ambition echoing beside the steady patience of ancient landscapes. Perhaps Almaty reminds us that the world's great cities can also protect wild spaces, offering not a separation, but the chance for both to flourish side by side. Tbilisi. At its heart, Tbilisi is a city where nature and human life blend, an unhurried testament to coexistence between ancient streets and wild green hills. Along the gentle curve of the Metkvari River, the capital of Georgia unfolds in layers of terracotta rooftops, tangled alleyways, and gardens that brush against the edges of wooded slopes, sunlight scattered across balconies and church domes. First settled in the 5th century, Tbilisi has stood at cultural crossroads for more than 1,500 years, shaped by Silk Road merchants, Persian empires, and centuries of shifting borders, each era leaving marks on public baths, fortress stones, and thriving open-air markets. There is a quiet resilience here, a soft determination sensed as city dwellers walk beneath sycamore trees and ivy-wrapped gates, sharing slow afternoons with the ever-present backdrop of forested hills. In Tbilisi, old churches stand beside sleek bridges. Tradition lingers even as new glass rises, and the line between natural landscape and city life gently blurs with each season. It's a living reminder that cities too can breathe, growing outward and inward, always reaching towards something beyond themselves. Granada, a city cradled by mountains. Granada reveals how human dreams and the natural world can intertwine in quiet harmony. Olive groves climb the surrounding hills, and the rosy towers of the Alhambra overlook winding lanes where the scents of jasmine and orange drift through the evening air in the heart of Andalusia, Spain. For centuries, this place was a cultural crossroads, a final stronghold of Al-Andalus until the end of the 15th century, when the Catholic monarchs claimed more than 230 feet, or about 70 meters, above the Darro River, marking a turning point in Spanish history. Every gentle echo in the hilltop gardens stirs a sense of layered memory, inviting visitors to touch both past and present without hurry. Life here balances between the city's artistic spirit and the persistent wildness of Sierra Nevada's shadow. In Granada, the boundaries between nature and civilization blur, softening the lines that so often divide us elsewhere in the world. Funchal. In this city in nature, the boundaries between urban life and wild beauty dissolve into a tranquil harmony. Along the sweeping southern coast of Madeira, Portugal, sunlight spills across terracotta rooftops and bursts of bougainvillea, framed by the undulating emerald slopes that cradle Funchal like a secret. Founded more than 600 years ago, this vibrant city grew from a humble settlement surrounded by fennel into the sophisticated capital of the island, shaped by centuries of maritime trade and cultural crossings. There is a gentle awe in wandering Funchal's labyrinth of cobblestone lanes, where the scent of salt air mingles with the songs of hillside gardens and life slows between moments of discovery. Here, the ocean's restless energy meets the mountain's peaceful steadiness, each softening the other's edges. In places like this, we are reminded how human stories and the natural world can intertwine, always inviting us to listen more closely. Chiang Mai. This is a city where ancient walls meet the living green of northern Thailand, a place shaped by an enduring bond between people and nature. Wrapped in a gentle mountain mist, vibrant marketplaces spill colorful fruits and fragrant flowers onto sunlit lanes, while temple roofs glint above the restless branches and songbirds of Chiang Mai City. Founded over 700 years ago as the capital of the Lanna Kingdom, Chiang Mai has grown from its 13th century roots into a modern cultural haven, weaving old Buddhist pagodas and teakwood homes into the unfolding cityscape. Here, time feels softened by the rhythm of rivers and shaded courtyards, inviting both travelers and locals to slow down and breathe deeply. Serenity and lively energy coexist quietly. Jungle sounds echo around traffic hum. Tradition moves gently alongside innovation. This harmony suggests that even as cities expand, the enduring embrace of nature can still shape the spirit of a place. Dalat, a city in nature, where human life and the wild landscape gently entwine. Morning mist drifts through slender pine trees, softening the rooftops and French villas that spill across the rolling highlands of Lam Dong province in southern Vietnam. Born in the early 20th century as a colonial hill station, Dalat became a refuge from the steamy lowland heat. Its cool air and fertile soil nurturing both tea farms and the ambitions of those seeking rest and inspiration. There is a quiet contentment here, felt as you wander shaded lakeside paths, listening to bird song and the distant hum of city life woven delicately into the forest's embrace. The city's French balconies and winding gardens hint at both nostalgia and new beginnings, blending memories of the past with the promise of living gently within the wild. Perhaps in Dalat's balance of human footprints and untamed hillsides, we glimpse how civilization and nature might coexist, a question that stretches far beyond these cool mountain mornings. Victoria, a city shaped by both wild coastline and cultivated grace. Victoria stands as a quiet testament to living fully within nature's embrace. Along the southern tip of Vancouver Island in British Columbia, gentle ocean mists drift over heritage buildings and blooming gardens, while evergreen forests press close behind, their scent mixing with salt air on peaceful city streets. Founded in the mid-19th century as a British colonial outpost, Victoria quickly flourished into the provincial capital, its stately parliament buildings now looking out across Inner Harbour, where indigenous Lekwungen peoples have gathered for thousands of years, far before the city's first stones were set. Here, life feels balanced. Cafes and museums are just steps from rocky shorelines and mossy trails, soft reminders that urban comfort and wild beauty can coexist with apparent ease. Yet this harmony is not without tension. A city in nature must continually adapt to each, navigating both the gifts and challenges brought by tides, weather, and growth. Victoria's gentle coexistence with its island setting seems to suggest a quiet hope that progress and preservation, civilization and wilderness need not always stand opposed. Zakopane, a city shaped by nature's rhythm, where human life and mountain landscape weave quietly together. At the foot of the Tatra Mountains in southern Poland, Zakopane's wooden villas nestle among tall spruce, their pointed roofs dusted with snow through much of the year, while crisp air drifts through bustling streets. An alpine silence slips just beyond the market square. Since the late 19th century, Zakopane has drawn artists, composers, and travelers seeking both inspiration and retreat. Its unique wooden architecture, known as the Zakopane style, emerging as a proud expression of Polish identity after the country's long years of foreign rule. There is a gentle, comforting paradox here, a city alive with voices and music, yet always humbled by the surrounding peaks that seem to watch over every dusk and dawn. This is a place where the boundaries between bustle and stillness, culture and wilderness are forever shifting. Like many mountain towns across the world, Zakopane quietly invites you to wonder how the stories of cities and nature might coexist, not just here, but wherever human footprints meet the wild. Interlaken, where city life and nature exist in rare harmony, Interlaken explores the gentle frontier between civilization and the wild. Framed by the distant snow caps of the Bernese Alps and nestled between the deep blue waters of Lake Thun and Lake Brienz, the town of Interlaken in Switzerland's Bern Canton feels both intimate and infinite, its streets opening onto breathtaking vistas of forest meadows and glacier-fed lakes. Founded over 7 centuries ago, Interlaken's origins as a medieval monastery gave rise to a crossroads of culture and commerce, later evolving into one of Europe's earliest resorts, drawing travelers long before the age of mass tourism. Here, the quiet murmur of rivers mingles with distant train horns, and grandeur seems gentle, urban comfort never fully separating from wild, open horizons. There's a tender duality in every view. The crisp geometry of hotels standing against ancient mountains, and the orderly tempo of Swiss life echoing nature's unpredictable rhythms. In Interlaken, you are left to wonder how many towns across the world might still remember the delicate conversation between human ambition and the eternal calm of the land. Banff town site, a city in nature, Banff is where cozy streets and wild mountain spirit blend into one living panorama. Nestled beneath the sentinel peaks of Alberta's Rockies, the town unfolds in colorful buildings framed by forests and snow-dusted slopes, while the scent of pine drifts along Banff Avenue and elk wander near the doorstep of everyday life. Established in the late 19th century after hot springs were discovered, Banff became Canada's first national park community, laying the foundation for nearly 150 years of protected wilderness and welcoming hospitality. There's something profoundly grounding in sipping coffee as dawn brushes the mountains with peach light, reminding residents and travelers alike that the extraordinary can become the backdrop of the ordinary. Here, civilization and untouched wildness exist side by side, offering both comfort and awe, a contrast as soft as the morning mist over the Bow River. Pokhara, a city where nature's grandeur weaves seamlessly into daily life. Along the northern edge of Nepal's Gandaki province, Pokhara shimmers beside the calm surface of Fewa Lake, framed by cascading hills and the towering silent watch of the Annapurna Range. Prayer flags flutter in the mountain breeze as small boats drift across water, reflecting a sky untouched by city haze. Once a waypoint along ancient trans-Himalayan trade routes, Pokhara grew from quiet riverside villages to become a gateway for trekkers seeking the world's highest peaks, with its origins as a trade hub shaping the blend of cultures still felt today. Amid the modernity, cafes, shops, distant hum of motorbikes, Pokhara remains tethered to the wild, a place suspended between the comfort of civilization and the endless possibility of the natural world. For many who visit, it becomes a gentle reminder of how human stories are forever written in the language of landscape. Sarajevo is often called the Jerusalem of Europe, a testament to its remarkable multicultural heritage. Here, over 20 religious communities coexist, making this city one of the most religiously diverse places in the world. History of Sarajevo is marked by a pivotal event, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914. This significant incident ignited World War I and reverberated through the corridors of global history. During the Bosnian War, Sarajevo endured the longest siege in modern history, lasting 1,425 days from 1992 to 1996. This siege profoundly affected nearly 300,000 residents, impacting their lives daily. One can visit the Sarajevo Tunnel Museum, which preserves the memory of a crucial lifeline. This museum showcases the 3.5-mile-long tunnel that once connected the besieged city to the outside world during those harrowing years.